I am going to example sketching the graphs of quadratic functions. I don't have a grid up. I'm going to put it. I'll set up the grid after. And for you're wondering what this is a string attached to a projector screen. Okay, for pulling it down. So I may hit it. It's just going to be there. There's no way for me to get rid of it in this room. So I'm going to example these. Several of these. This is based on this document right here. I don't have any grids. I'll set the grid up after I find the important points. I'll make a grid using this meter, using this yardstick. All right. So here are the steps. Find the vertex. The vertex is either the low point or the high point. And h is negative b over 2a. K is the matching y. Once you find that, find the y-intercept, plug in x equals 0, get the matching y. At the x-intercepts, set the quadratic equal to 0 and solve. If you get a real value solutions, plot them. And then another step, if it's easy, from the vertex, go over 1 unit each way and up a units. Okay, there will be other things that I will do to make this easier, or to create a more complete picture that can't really be explained in words. So here we go. Do h equals negative b over 2a, where a is 1, a is 1, 1x squared, b is 8, c is 7. So h equals negative 8 over, per the formula, so negative 8 over 2 times 1 equals negative 8 over 2, which is negative 4. K is going to be negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 7. So that's going to be 16 minus 32 plus 7, that is negative 29. Sorry, negative 9. So the vertex is negative 4, negative 9. Y-intercept. X equals 0. So y equals 0 squared plus 8 times 0 plus 7. 0 plus 0 plus 7 is 7. So the y-intercept is 0, 7. The x-intercepts. Y is 0. So that means x squared plus 8x plus 7 is 0. So that will give me, it's going to be, this one's solvable by factoring. Pair of factors of 7, half the 8 are positive 8, positive 1. Sorry, positive 7, positive 1. So x plus 7 is 0. X plus 1 is 0. So minus 7, x equals negative 7. Subtract 1, x equals negative 1. So we have negative 7, 0, and negative 1, 0. Those are my important points. So at this point, I'm going to pause this, create a grid, and plot the sketch. As you can see, I went ahead and drew a grid. I also went ahead and add these instructions to go with number 4. So first I'm going to start with the points I'm given. The vertex is the low point, negative 4, negative 9. And y-intercept is 0, 7. my x-intercepts are negative 7, 0, and negative 1, 0. Now, from the vertex, negative 4, 9, I'm going to go over 1 each way and up a units. Well, a is 1, so I'm going to go over 1 and up a units, which is 1. So over 1, up 1. Over 1, up 1. Further, I'm also going to take advantage of the principle of symmetry, because the vertex is on a vertical line that cuts it in half, and each side's a mirror image. So the y-intercept was 4 units over y-coordinate 7. So I'm going to go 4 units over again, y-coordinate 7. So 4 units over y-coordinate 7, 4 units over y-coordinate 7, above the 8. So I'll do the best I can. It's no secret I'm not a very good sketcher. Okay, and that closes off that example. All right, I'm going to resume. First of all, the next example is f of x equals 2x squared minus 8x minus 10. A is 2, b is negative 8, and c is negative 10. So h equals, per this formula, negative 8 over 2 times 2, which gives me positive 8 over 4, which is 2. So k will be 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 minus 10. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 16 is negative 6 minus 10 is, actually that's minus 8. That's minus 8 minus 10 is minus 18. So my vertex is 2, negative 18. Okay, at the y-intercept, x is 0. So y will equal 2 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0 minus 10. 0 minus 0, take away 10 is negative 10. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 10. Okay, at the x-intercepts, y is 0. So 2x squared minus 8x minus 10 is 0. I'm going to factor that 2 out of all 3 terms. So x squared minus 4x minus 5 is 0, and then I will divide it off. So I end up with x squared minus 4x minus 5 still equals 0. The pair of factors of negative 5, that the negative 4, they exist. It's x minus 5 and x plus 1. So x minus 5 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. Add my 5. X is 5. So that point will be 5, 0. Subtract 1, x equals negative 1. So negative 1, 0. And then later I'll do this from vertex. But first, I need to set up a coordinate grid, so I will pause for that purpose. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use this grid that I just set up to sketch the graph of this function. So 2, negative 18 was the vertex. And then I had 0, negative 10 as the y-intercept. And I had 5, 0 and negative 1, 0 as my x-intercepts. Now, from here, I'm also going to go over from the vertex, I'm also going to go over 1 up A units. Well, A is 2. So I'm going to go over 1 up 2 and over 1 up 2. Also, I know that this is in the steps, but I'm going to use the principle of symmetry for the y-intercept. The y-intercept was 2 over from the vertex with an x-coordinate of -10. So I'm going to go 2 over, sorry, with a y-coordinate of -10. So I'm going to go 2 over and another y-coordinate of -10. And then I'm going to put a curve through. That hopefully hits everything it's supposed to. I know that's not a very good looking curve, but it is just a sketch. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to put up another example. All right, so here's another one. F of x equals -x squared plus 10x minus 16. So A is -1, B is 10, C is -16. So H equals, per this formula, -10 over 2 times -1. So -10 over -2 is 5. So K will equal -5 squared plus 10 times 5 minus 16. So that will be -25 plus 50 minus 16. 25 minus 16 is 9. So I have 5, 9 as my vertex. Now, x equals 0, so y will equal -0 squared plus 10 times 0 minus 16. 0 plus 0 minus 16 is -16. So it's 0, -16. At the x-intercepts, y is 0. So -x squared plus 10x minus 16 is 0. If the quadratic coefficient has a negative in front of it, factor out a negative. There are no other common factors, so we'll do -1. And the division by -1 leaves a positive x squared, a negative 10x, and a positive 16. Okay? I will then proceed to divide off that -1. So I have x squared minus 10x plus 16 is 0. So that's going to be x and x, because it's factorable. Pair of factors of 16 out to -10 or -8 and -2. So I have x minus 8 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. Add 8, and x is 8. 8, 0. And 2. X is 2. So I have 2, 0. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to pause while I set up a grid, and then I'll finish the problem. All right, I have built a grid, and I'm going to use it to sketch the graph of this function. So the vertex is 5, 9. X equals 5, y equals 9. Okay, the y-intercept is 0, -16. And the x-intercepts are 8, 0. And 2, 0. Okay, so from the vertex, I'm going to go over 1 and up A units. That means up -1, which is really down 1. So, from the vertex, I'm going to go over 1 and down 1. And from the other way, over 1 and down 1. Okay? In addition, I'm going to use the principle of symmetry on the y-intercept. From the vertex, I was 5 minutes over with a y-coordinate of -16. I'm going to do the same thing. So 5 units, y-coordinate -16. All right, and then I'm going to put that curve through that will hopefully hit everything it's supposed to. Despite the fact that, again, I'm not a very good sketch artist. That's it. I'm done with that sketch. All right, here's another one. F of x is x squared minus 6x plus 13. So a is 1, b is -6, and c is 13. So h equals -6 over 2 times 1, which gives me 6 over 2, which is 3. So, plug it in. I get 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 13. 9 minus 18 plus 13. -9 plus 13 is 4. So that's going to be 3, 4. The x-intercept is, the y-intercept is x equals 0. So that's going to be 0 squared minus 6 times 0 plus 13. 0 minus 0 plus 13 is just 13. So it's 0, 13. Next step, I have x squared minus 6x plus 13 equals 0. There's no pair of factors of 13 that have the -6. So I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And by the way, when I sketch my graph, this is probably going to have to be taken out of the way. So x equals -6 plus or minus the square root of -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 13 all over 2 times the 1. So, first, under the radical, -6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 13. 36 minus 52 is -16. Second, square root of -16 is 4i, non-real. Non-real means not graphable. So, I have gone as far as I can go without a grid. So I'm going to pause here and build a grid. By the way, I hope the fact that it's not real means it makes clear that it's not graphable. So there's no reason to continue. Once we got a non-real value during the looking for an x-intercept, because it doesn't have an x-intercept. That's what you're about to see. So 3, 4 is the vertex. The y-intercept is 0, 13. It doesn't have any x-intercepts. Okay, so our only choice from, our only easy points is from the vertex, go over 1 and up A units. So A is 1, so that means up 1. So over 1, up 1. So over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. We're also going to use the principle of symmetry with the y-intercept. The y-intercept was 3 units over from the vertex with a y-coordinate of 13. We're going to repeat the process over the vertex. All right. And there's my sketch. I wanted to make that look more like a curve. All right. So here's example 5x squared minus 2x minus 2x minus 14. A is once again 1, B is negative 2, and C is negative 14. So H equals negative negative 2 over 2 times 1. So 2 over 2 is 1. So K equals 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 14. 1 minus 2 minus 14 is negative 15. So the vertex is 1, negative 15. The y-intercept. X equals 0, so y equals 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 14. 0 minus 14 is negative 14. So I have 0, negative 14. Okay? At the x-intercepts, y is 0, and I left the quadratic formula up for a reason. X squared minus 2x minus 14 is 0. There's no pair of factors negative 14, not the negative 2. So we're going to have to use the quadratic formula. We're completing the square, but the quadratic formula is what I'm going to do. So x equals negative negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1, the one that you don't see, and then negative 14. All over 2 times 1. So first, under the radical. That's going to be negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. So that's 4. And there's actually 2 minuses here, so that's going to be a plus. And 4 times 14 is 56. So this is 60. Second, square root of 60 is divisible by the perfect square 4. The division result would be 15. So that's 2 square root of 15. Third, x equals positive 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 15 over 2. Which gives me 1, both of these are divisible by 2, 1 plus or minus the square root of 15. So I have 1 minus the square root of 15, 0, and 1 plus the square root of 15, 0. Okay, that's what they make calculators for. So I'm going to box this off separately so it doesn't get mixed up with the rest. 1 minus the square root of 15 is approximately negative 2.873. and then 1 plus the square root of 15, that's approximately 4.873. So I'm going to pause here and set the grid that can hopefully fit everything. It might be ugly, but I'm going to give it a whirl. Okay, so the vertex was 1, negative 15. Y-intercept was 0, negative 14. The x-intercepts were almost to negative 3 and almost to 5. All right, and from the vertex, I'm going to go over 1 unit and up a units. A is 1. So that means I'm going to go over 1, up 1, and over 1, up 1. So over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. All right, which also gave me the counterpoint to the mirror image of the y-intercept. So this is enough. I'm going to go ahead and put it through. All right. So, and that doesn't look like, that looks more like a V, so I'm going to round the bottom a little bit. Okay. And that one is done. Final example that I am planning on doing. F of x is negative 3x squared minus 12x minus 6. So first, A is negative 3, B is negative 12, and C is negative 6. Okay, for these purposes. So H equals negative 12 over 2 times negative 3. So positive 12 over negative 3 is, negative 6 is negative 2. And I'll plug negative in to that to get the matching K. So this gives, that's 4 times negative 3 is minus 12 plus 24 minus 6. 12 minus 6 is 6. So I have negative 2, 6. Okay. So next step, the y-intercept, x is 0. So y will equal negative 3 times 0 squared minus 12 times 0 minus 6. 0 minus 0 minus 6 is negative 6. So 0, negative 6. All right. Y-intercepts, y is 0. So negative 3x squared minus 12x minus 6 equals 0. The quadratic coefficient is negative, so definitely take out a negative. All three of these are divisible by 3, so I will take the 3 out as well. And that'll leave me negative 3x squared divided by negative 3 is positive x squared. Divide these, I get 4x. Divide these, I get positive 2. Okay? And then I'll divide off that negative 3. Still leaving me 0 on this side. Okay, so I'm going to use A, B, and C here are going to be different to use with the quadratic formula. Okay, x will equal negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2, all over 2 times 1. Okay? Darken a little bit. So first, under the radical. So that's going to be 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. 16 minus 8 is 8. Second, square root of 8 is square root of 4, square root of 2, gives me 2 square root of 2. So, negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 2 gives me negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. That's got to be a tight squeeze. So maybe I would be better served to square root of 2. So third, I have negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 2, which gives me, both of these are divisible by 2, so that's negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2. So that'll be negative 2 minus the square root of 2, 0, and 2 plus. So I'm going to have to make better use of space. So this will be negative 2 minus the square root of 2, 0. This will be negative 2 plus the square root of 2, 0. All right, I'm going to need to get decimal approximations here. So negative 2 minus the square root of 2 is about negative 3.414. 0. And then this is going to be negative 2 plus the square root of 2. And that's approximately negative 0.5858. 0. Okay, I'm going to pause here and set up the grid. So here's my grid. Vertex is negative 2, 6. The y-intercept is 0, negative 6. And the y-intercepts were negative 3 and almost to negative 3.5. And a little bit over negative or under negative 1/2. Okay, so 2, 6, negative 2, 6 is the vertex. Now, from the vertex, we're going to go over 1 and up a units. Negative 3. So, down 3. So, from the vertex, I'm going to go over 1, down 3. So, over 1, down 3. And then over 1, down 3. Okay, I'm also going to find the counterpart to the y-intercept. So this was 2 over with a y-coordinate of negative 6. So I'll go the other way, 2 units, y coordinate of -6. And then here's my curve. All right. Okay. Other quadratic skills include converting these into vertex equations into vertex form, and or showing the axis symmetry in graphs. And then after that, I'm going to concentrate on vertex form only, and then I'm going to do some gravity problems. So here we go. For f of x equals 7x squared plus 14x minus 56, A, convert to vertex form. B, sketch the graph. C, show the axis of symmetry. So do, okay? Vertex form is f of x equals A times x minus h squared plus k with h equals negative b over 2a and k equaling f of h. All right, so all I need to do is negative b over 2a equals negative 14 over 2 times 7. Okay, so this is going to be negative 14 over 14, which is negative 1. Okay, k will equal 7 times negative 1 squared plus 14 times negative 1 minus 56. So, negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 7 is 7. 14 times minus 1 is minus 14. Minus 56, negative 63. So the vertex is negative 1, negative 63. So if I had a grid in front of me, I could go ahead and plot that if I wanted. Okay? However, I have f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So f of x will equal 7. X minus, make that parenthesis a little bigger temporarily, h was negative 1. All right? And k was negative 63. All right, so A finished is f of x equals 7. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. And adding a negative is the same as subtracting. Okay, so vertex form is done. Next, I need to do the rest of the graph. Okay? Y-intercept. X equals 0, y equals 7 times 0 squared plus 14 times 0 minus 56. 0 plus 0 minus 56 is negative 56. So 0, negative 56. X-intercepts. Y equals 0. And since this equals f of x and f of x is y, this whole thing equals 0. All right, I will divide off the 7. And I have x squared plus 2x minus 8 equals 0. It's solvable by factoring. So, pair of factors of negative 8 that have the positive 2 are positive 4 minus 2. So x plus 4 equals 0. x minus 2 equals 0. So subtract my 4, and x equals negative 4. Add my 2, x equals 2. So I have negative 4, 0, and 2, 0. Okay, so this gives me my spread. Okay, this gives me the width of the width I must account for. This gives me how low I must go. This gives me, well, it looks like I need to get as high as I really need to go, but I at least need to get into the positives. Okay, I need a full grid. So that's what I'm going to show. So I need to go all the way over from negative 4 to positive 2 at the bare minimum. Okay? Since it looks like space is going to be a bit of a problem, I am going to move it over because there's something I do want to make sure that I show everything I need to. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. X, Y. All right. So I guess I propose to go by tenths. Okay, I'll go by tenths. I'll scale this out a little bit differently. Negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, negative 50, negative 60, and looks like if I need to get down to I need to at least count for 70. Again, folks, whenever they get really this big, it can be difficult to do this. Wish this classroom, this room I'm borrowing had a ruler, but it doesn't. Okay, so how about this? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay. 10, negative 10, negative 20, negative 40, negative 60. Okay, 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Okay, so these are our x-intercepts. Negative 4, 0, and 2, 0. And I have 0, negative 56. So here'd be negative 55. I guess I'll put it right here, a smidge below. Okay. And negative 1, negative 63. Negative 65 would be there, so I guess I'll put it right there. Okay. From vertex, negative 1, negative 63, go over 1 up a units each way. Now, a is 7, so that means up 7. So, that's already taken care of. Over 1 and up, well, it'd be the same, okay? Over 1, over 1. Okay, I guess I can move that in a little bit. and I'll just do the best I can. Again, we're not computers, folks. Do not expect computer level accuracy out of yourselves. It's not fair to yourself or to any other human being. It might actually be that steep, but that's fine. Okay, now, C, axis of symmetry. Okay? Axis of symmetry is x equals h. So in this case, it's x equals -1. And these are normally shown with a dotted line. It is a vertical line that cuts the quadratic in half and goes through the vertex. Okay, the axis of symmetry. All right, let me get this off the board. I'll remove all marks that might cause confusion. And I will let everybody take a look at this. Okay, please keep in mind, sometimes you might be only asked for that for converting to vertex form, in which case there's no graph. Other times you may be asked for vertex form and the graph, but not the axis of symmetry. And sometimes you may be asked for these two, but without A. Okay, that could happen. Okay, here's another one. For f of x equals -x squared plus 14x minus 13a, sketch the graph. B, convert to vertex form. All right, so here goes. So unlike the previous example, we're going to sketch the graph and then do vertex form. And this time we didn't the axis of symmetry wasn't asked for. Okay, so okay? First thing we would do, however, is find the vertex. H equals -b over 2a, which should be -14 over 2 times a -1. So this will be -14 over -2, which is 7. K equals -7 squared plus 14 times 7 minus 13. So 49, stick a negative in front of it, plus 98 minus 13, 36. So the vertex is 736. Y-intercept. X equals 0. Y equals -0 squared plus 14 times 0 minus 13. 0 squared is 0, -0 is still 0. 0 plus 0 minus 13 is -13. So we have 0, -13. Okay? X-intercepts. This is where y equals 0. So we're -x squared plus 14x minus 13 equals 0. Factor out that -1 and divide. Divide off the negative 1. X squared minus 14x plus 13 is 0. X and x. The pair of factors of 13 that the negative 14 are negative 13 and negative 1. So x minus 13 is 0. X minus 1 is 0. Add your 13. X is 13. Add your 1. X is 1. So my points are 13, 0, 1, 0. Okay? Now, this should be enough space. So it looks like I needed to accommodate everything vertically from 36 to negative 13, as from 13 to 1. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one over. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Negative 1 for good measure. Okay? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, and I guess we could go by 5s. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Well, that's not going to work. Can you make those shorter? So maybe this, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. Okay, so my spread is covered, especially if I zoom this out and angle it a little bit, I guess. This is X, this is Y. All right, so I have the vertex 7 and a smidge above the 35. Okay, I am going to step back to make sure that that looks somewhat appropriate. I'm going to bump this one up a little bit and erase the bottom. Okay, and then I have 0, negative 13, maybe about right here. 13, 0, and 1, 0. So 1, 0, and 13, 0. Okay, now, from vertex 736, go over 1, up A, units, each way. Okay, so over 1 and up A, well, A is negative 1. So equals up negative 1 equals down 1. So, okay, so having taken care of this, all right, we're now actually going to do it. So I'm going to go over 1 from 7, and over 1 would be to 6, and then down 1 would be down to 35. Make sure that that looks the way it should. And then also, above 8, same whiteboard. Okay, that looks about the way it should. All right, and then we're going to put the curve through.
do something similar on the other side. Okay, ideally it would look something close to symmetric. I'm going to guess that this is probably, I'm going to guess, it's probably just a guess, that this side is a little bit more accurate than the other. Okay? I don't really know for sure, but this is adequate for the methods that we've shown. Okay? Now here's B. F of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Well, we have a is negative 1. B is, or k is, sorry, h, sorry, not a, h is 7. And k is 36. All right, so f of x equals negative 1, x minus 7 squared plus 36. However, it is customary to leave off the 1. Okay, and that is where I will stop for this example. Okay, so having done the stuff that's related to graphs, we're going to do vertex form only. Okay? Here's the form. Here's the formula for h. Okay? So for this one, we're going to do h equals negative 176, because that's negative b over 2a, which should be negative 176 over negative 22, which is 8. K equals negative 11 times 8 squared plus 176 times 8 plus 112. So, 64 times negative 11. Negative 704 plus 176 times 8. 1408 plus 112. So negative 704 plus 1408 plus 112 is 816. So f of x equals negative 11, because a is negative 11, x minus 8 squared plus 816. I'm going to change this to 6001. Okay, so here goes. H equals negative, B is negative 756 over 2 times 21. Positive 756 divided by 42 is 18. Memorized from my calculator, okay? K equals 21 times 18 squared minus 756 times 18 plus 6001. So 18 squared is 324 times 21. 6,804 minus 756 times 18, 13,608 plus 6,001. So 6,804 minus 13,608 plus 6001 negative 803. Okay, so f of x equals a is 21, x minus the 18 squared plus negative 803, which will be promptly rewritten. Adding a negative is the same as subtracting. And I'm done. Okay? I will also check to see if that, make sure that one does what I wanted to as well. Okay, I'm going to make one change to this one. I'm going to make it a plus. Okay? I apologize. I've been doing a lot of videos over the last 2 days and I'm getting tired. Okay? So h equals negative 38 over 2 times the 1. Negative 38 over 2 is negative 19. K is negative 19 squared plus 38 times negative 19 plus 510. That'll be positive 361. There's only one minus in that multiplication. So 38 times negative 19, negative 722, plus 510, $149. All right? So, f of x equals a is 1, times x minus h, so minus the negative 19 squared, plus the 149. Okay? It's customary to not bother to write the 1. So this will be x plus 19 squared plus 149. Okay, on Earth, an object shot or thrown upward at 120 miles per hour, which is exactly 176 feet per second, from 20 feet above the ground, could have its height modeled by h equals negative 16t squared plus 176t plus 20, where h is in feet, and t is in seconds. A, when does it reach its maximum height? B, what is the maximum height? So here we go. Do max equals negative b over 2a. Or how about I put it this way? Max at t equals negative b over 2a. All right? That is the formula for the x-coordinate of the vertex on a parabola, okay? Because these things take this shape. So that would be negative 176 over 2 times negative 16, which is negative 176 over negative 32, which is 5.5 seconds. Okay? That is A. Here's B. H equals, plug it in, negative 16 times 5.5 squared plus 176 times 5.5 plus 20. Okay? So 5.5 squared is 30.25 times negative 16. Negative 484. Plus 176 times 5.5, 968. plus 20, $504. So that's going to be 504 feet. That will be its maximum height.